Today we're gonna look at Magic the Gathering staples that they're just gone. They don't see play anymore. It's over for them. Stuff like Lingering Souls. This was a staple in Modern for like years. Actually, you know how powerful Lingering Souls was? It was banned, I believe it was banned in block, it's in Limited? Was it banned in, no. I can't remember where it was banned. It was banned somewhere in some like obscure format, like maybe Block Constructed. I could be wrong. Someone please correct me on this. But for a white 2 generic, it was a sorcery that created 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying, and add flashback for a black and 1 generic. And that was pretty OP back in the day. 3 mana for basically 2 unblockable power, and then when you flash it back, you got even more value after that. And so you have like 4 unblockable creatures in the air, and apparently at the time, like no one could even deal with any of this stuff. These days, probably Fury would just laugh at this thing. There's like a lot of reasons why maybe this card is not so good anymore. It's harder to get into the graveyard. Like they had like niche synergies with Liliana the Veil. Oh, Liliana the Veil, you tick up another card that basically sees no play anymore. It goes to the graveyard and then you could flash it back. And so it's not like you actually got rid of a card. I have a feeling flying is not the most broken mechanic that it used to be. And in addition to that, yeah, I think there's like too many ways of picking off the 1 toughness creatures. Like you can't block with them nearly as well. You're gonna get hit by like fire and ice. You might get hit by lava dart. So like the value to all these 1/1s isn't what it used to be. Used to play, yeah, you used to have to play something like Izzet Staticaster. Let's talk about this one. This used to be such a hot card back then. That was like the way to deal with 1 toughness creatures. It was a red-blue 1 generic 0/3 flash haster with tap. Izzet Staticaster deals 1 damage to target creature and each other creature with the same name as that creature. It was the answer to tokens. So if you put out like a bunch of Young Pyromancer tokens, if you put out a bunch of Lingering Soul tokens, this just wiped them all off the battlefield. And you nichely could just bring it in against any deck with 1 toughness creatures, whether it were infect or humans or whatever. So there are a few problems with this card now. First off, it's not the premier card to wipe away 1 toughness creatures. We now give the title of that to the Fire and Ices and Furies and, oh, I'm missing one. I'm always, Wrenn 6. Wrenn 6 deals with 1 toughness grid. Like, Wrenn 6 is just the new Izzet Staticaster in some way. So that, like, why would you reach? And then, because of all those cards, there's hardly any 1 toughness creatures in Modern anymore. 1 toughness creatures are just gone. So like, why would you even want to put Izzet Staticaster in your deck? What, just to hit a Ragavan or something? Like Ragavan and maybe, what's it called? Esper Sentinel are probably the only premier 1 toughness creatures left in Modern that you would even want to even think about. Is GTA still used? GTA is still banned in, it's banned in Modern. It's legal in Legacy, but it's not popular because of like the removal, the sheer amount of removal. I mean, you could easily just get Solitude or Swords to Plowshares. It's too much mana to invest on this thing, and even then, in the end, like, what are you gonna kill? Not enough well, there are still some 1 toughness creatures in Legacy, but it's just not effective enough. Damn, with Path to Exile. Yeah, that's relegated to Commander now. How do you Commander players feel about Path to Exile? You like it? You like it still? Huh? Huh? This is like one of those random extra like white removal spells. This unfortunately has 2 it always was not great, by the way. There was a lot of decks that played this when they shouldn't have. It was like not even necessary. Or it was like awkward. Because you exile a creature for 1 white, and its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. You had this, like, weird game of playing, you want to play it early, right? To save yourself some life points. But the problem, if you do that, then you ramp your opponent up a ton. Path to Exile is amazing later on in the game when, you know, giving your opponent land is pretty meaningless because they've already emptied their hand. But now it's been completely pushed out of the game by, like, March of Otherworldly Light, Prismatic Ending, Solitude. What other white removal spells there are now? I think I mentioned the top 3 that deal with not only creatures, but also a lot of permanents. March of Otherworldly Light and Prismatic Ending can hit anything, which reduces your need to, like, put, like, super powerful cards in your sideboard for enchantments and artifacts. So, yeah, so anyway, I know it still deals with the creatures. Still deals with the creatures. We got Abe with a super chat. Remand, Snap Remand, no longer a thing. Makes me sad. You know what? I think Remand is underrated right now. I'm not gonna lie. I think Remand, I'm not gonna say it's slept on, because maybe, like, maybe there's just no home for this card, but for a blue 1 generic instant, counter target spell, if the spell is countered this way, put it to its owner's hand instead of putting it into that player's graveyard, draw a card. Now this is quite good versus any Cascade deck. So if you Cascade into Living End, if you Cascade into Crashing Footfalls, bounce it to their hand and draw a card off of it. And it's like, not like the card in their hand is gonna do anything. Sure, they can, like, suspend maybe the Crashing Footfalls, but you don't have to deal with it for like a billion turns. But not only that, like, doesn't it interact, like, relatively well against the elemental decks? Like, if you pitch, I don't know, Omnath to play a Solitude, or a red card to play Fury, and you remand it back to their hand, that's a beating! So they have to pitch another card, and you, well, I guess you didn't net a card. You just basically you just cycled this damn thing. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Maybe it has no home. Yeah, Remand is good versus the Evoke Elementals. Maybe. When it's good if they pitch anything, then that's good. But, like, if they don't pitch, then you're just like, well, hey, it's not too bad. That's the whole point of Remand. Play Remand, 2 mana, tempo out someone who's committing 4, 5 mana into a card. So yeah, if they're hard casting Fury or Solitude, it's also good. I think it's also a win. Alright, what else do we got here? Lobotomy. Who played Lobotomy? Is that, I think that was like a really old staple for dealing with combo decks. Black, blue, 2 generic. Look at target player's hand and choose a card other than basic land card from it. Search that player's graveyard, hand, and library for all cards with the same name as that chosen card and remove them from the game. Then that player shuffles his or her library. That was like a super old classic combo card. Fact of the matter is, they basically made better versions of this over time. Like, first off, you can get them for, like, less than 4 mana, and in just mono black. But they also have just, like, surgical extraction. Maybe not the best replacement all the time, because why would the card be in the graveyard? Because this is, you, like, exile a card in the graveyard, then you search the player's deck for all copies of this card. This one just nukes it from the library. Another one, what is a there's a red, what's the red one? There's a red version of this that's uncounterable. Slaughter Games. Just came up to me. It just came up. Slaughter Games. Red, black, 2 generic. It can't be countered. And this one's even better because you name an online card, search target opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for any numbers of the cards and exile them. Then the player shuffles their library. That is super strong. So I think the problem with Lobotomy, it was a great card at the time, but there's just, like, way better versions. It got pushed out by just incrementally better versions of that type of effect. And then no one goes back to Lobotomy. Delver has, Delver sees a lot of play in Legacy. You could say, you said Delver of Secrets is dead in Modern, though. Yeah, it's stone dead in Modern. No one would play this. It's funny, Modern gets to play with outrageously powerful cards that Legacy doesn't. They've got Expressive Iteration, they've got Ragavan, they got Renin 6. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And because they get to play with things like Dragon Rage Channeler, Ragavan, and Murktide, there's, like, no room for Delver of Secrets. The moment there's one more good card in Legacy for, like, the blue-red Delver decks, they're gonna kick out Delver. It's just how it is. It's the weakest of the Delver cards. It's just the weakest. Misread the title? Oh, it's okay. I misread everything as well. Calantary, you know what? They're true name nemesis. Now, funny enough, I'm trying to bring this card back to light, back to prominence in Merfolk, but this card is just dead. Otherwise, this used to be, you might see like a copy or two in a Delver deck. You would see this as a staple in every Stoneblade deck. You play Stoneforge Mystic, you play your True Name Nemesis, you get the Batterskull on True Name, and it's just GG. Where else did this saw some play? I think in some control decks. It's just a way of, like, I don't know, as like a good sideboard tech. Where else did True Name see play? It was just a blue staple. You beat the True Name or the True Name beats you, and it's as simple as that. And now, like, it is just too weak. I guess there's a problem with Plague Engineer. That is a problem. You see, in the Merfolk deck, I can buff this thing up with my Lords, with Lord of Atlantis, Master of the Pearl Trident, to get underneath, to at least give myself hedge some protection against, or hedge my chances versus Plague Engineer. But regular like a random Delver deck or a Stoneblade deck, they can't do that. They would have to get that stupid Batterskull on the True Name Nemesis to give it the adequate protection that it needs. Because, yeah, now Plague Engineer is such a beating to the 1-toughness creatures. The opposite of cards that don't see play anymore is the Plague Engineer. It sees tons of play, is wrecking 1-toughness creatures, and I think that is one of the biggest reasons you don't see True Name anymore. And, like, you see Engineered Plague. This used to be an answer to True Name Nemesis, but it's clunky. You have to find it. Brainstorms, Ponders, or just naturally draw it. Plague Engineer, you could just tutor for it. There's a lot of decks that will just tutor for this creature card. It's easier to find the creatures than it is to find an enchantment. So yeah, this card is quite gone. Christopher B just mentioning like these aren't even true. Like every format plays Noble Hierarch still. Every format. It's far from over. Plague Engineer was why Infect is dead. Glistener Elf at least. It's a tough world out there for the 1-toughness creatures. Look, they were trying to hate on the tribal decks, and they ended up hating on everything else at the same time. Ooh, I like that one, Maelstrom Pulse. I'm seeing a pattern here. I'm seeing a little bit of a pattern here. One thing that was good about Maelstrom Pulse is it had a way of dealing with any permanent. But now we've got, because for a green-black 1 generic sorcery, destroy target non-land permanent and all other permanents with the same name as that permanent. If you want that type of an effect, though, you just play with, like, Prismatic Ending. Just play a 3-color. You don't even have to play 3 colors with Prismatic Ending. You can play blue-white control, splashing a few triomes, and you can hit the 4-drops. You can hit the 5-drops, no problem. So, Maelstrom Pulse, it also used to be able to wipe out all the tokens, but as we just mentioned, there are better cards that wipes out all the tokens, like Plague Engineer and Fury and so on. So we don't need to be reaching for Maelstrom Pulse to be exiling any permanents. And it's clunky. Like, it only can be cast at 3 mana. Like Prismatic Command and March of Otherworldly Light, they can be played for 1 mana, for 2 mana. They can be played at all other parts of the curve. And higher. Well, Maelstrom Pulse will hit any part of the curve. That's all. Hold on. I have some super chats to get through. Hold on. Let's get through some super chats. We got King Ginger. Smothering Tithing Commander. That is... Oh, yeah. Now I understand. You said, like, it's the opposite. Assassin's Trophy. Same problem with Maelstrom Pulse. Exact same problem. There's nothing different. Green-black instant, destroy target permanent opponent controls its controller. May search their library for a basic land card, put on the battlefield, then shuffle their library. So this was like a bad March of Otherworldly Light that gave your opponent lands. Now this did say target permanent, so you can hit lands with this. You can hit the creature lands. You can hit an Urza Saga, for example. Although, like, stuff like March of Otherworldly Light also can hit an Urza Saga. Was Snapcaster named? It has not been named. All right, let's go to Snapcaster Mage. You know what? Actually, this is seeing this. I think this saw no play in Legacy, and now it's starting to see some play in Legacy again. Because I'm playing Legacy, and all of a sudden people are playing Snapcaster Mage against me. Yeah, what is the deal with Snapcaster Mage? So a blue 1 generic, it had flash, it gave an instant or sorcery flashback until end of turn. It was a 2/1 creature. What is the problem with Snapcaster? Oh yeah, I forgot. At least in Modern, and even in Legacy, a lot of the spells are now just creatures. And Planeswalkers. So you're playing with like Minsk and Boo, you're playing with Teferi Time Raveler, you're playing with Narset, you're playing... And artifacts! Like, you know what's a really big card right now in Legacy? Staff of... I think it's Domination? No, not Domination. Staff of the Storyteller. So a lot of the big impact cards, like card advantage generators, they're not instants and sorceries anymore. Instants and sorceries are sort of going in the way of the dodo. Or at the very least, you know, Wizards is shifting the power of spells to planeswalkers, artifacts, and enchantments that we haven't seen in a long time. So Snapcaster Mage, in that world, when you're filling your deck with planeswalkers, artifacts, enchantments, not nearly as good. Not where it used to be. Cubs Woo with Chimeric Idol? Like what, in Standard? Okay, maybe we should have a Chimeric Idol. Did we ever have a Standard show? So this was like a staple in Standard at the time because it played around Verdict. It was just a 3-mana artifact, but you could pay 0, tap all lands you control, it became a 3/3 turtle. And it saw it play in a lot of decks. Okay, what? Mother of Runes sees tons of play. Jacob, you're just naming random cards. Gotta cool it. Gotta do your research. Mother of Runes is still a staple in Legacy. Death and Taxes is one of the best decks. It's up there. It's one of the better decks out there. Works with Force of Will, but Snapcaster... Oh, Mission... I like Mission Briefing more than Snapcaster Mage. Well, Snapcaster Mage is a creature that can block and attack. What are also some... Nihiri the Harbinger. Oh my goodness. There were whole control decks built around this card. White, red, 2 generic for a 4 loyalty Nihiri. +2, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. Now this was good for a few reasons. You can actually discard an Emrakul sometimes, and then refill your deck with all the good stuff that you put there. -2, exile target enchantment, tapped artifact, or tapped creature. It was removal, so it could protect itself. But the most important thing is it ticked up pretty quickly to -8. So tick up, -8. Search your library for an artifact or creature card, put it onto the battlefield, and shuffle your library. It gains haste. Return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. And that's what I was saying, like +2ing and discarding an Emrakul was gas. So the whole idea is you -8, you go get Emrakul, you wipe your opponent's board, and you're probably far enough ahead that you would just close out the game. This is gone. It's not even that bad. Like, why would this be so bad today? We can still search our libraries, right? What's wrong with this card? What is the rules of the show? Any staple that just doesn't see any play anymore. Basically no play. Or close to no. Well, I'll accept like 5% of what it used to be. Bone Crusher Giant? Oh no, the card still sees play. Okay, Chris, I'm gonna time you out if you keep naming random cards that still see play. I don't have a really good explanation. I guess there's just better decks out there, or people just found that the Emrakul package was too clunky. Because these days, I mean, you could easily play this if you wanted to. There's nothing wrong with it either. Oh, you know what's actually... There is a problem. Solitude. Okay, so Solitude... that is the answer. Solitude is the medicine to Emrakul. Because you can just evoke this thing and hit an Emrakul. Emrakul had protection from spells, but does not have protection from abilities. So flying protection from spells, that means cards that are on the stack, but when you evoke the elemental, or like when the elemental enters the battlefield, it's the ability that can still target Emrakul. So actually Solitude just stone cold killed off Emrakul, making this Nihiri the Harbinger combo just like way weaker. Way weaker. It's not in the same league as it used to be. To be fair, people stopped playing Nahiri way before Solitude came out. I think people decided they just didn't like the deck / shell. You know, people still... Well, you know what? I'm not going to argue that. We know it's stone dead now, though, because of that. Have we discussed Cryptic Command? We haven't. Yeah, we haven't looked at Cryptic Command. I don't have a really good explanation for why this card is, like, not seeing any play. I guess countering spells is not that... It's really not that bad. Blue, 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 1 generic. Counter target spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand. Tap all creatures your opponents control, or draw a card. You have to choose 2. I guess at 4 mana, there's just no room. You'd rather be playing Omnath. Simple as that. Control these days is just like tap out control. Just you junned them out with like blue, white, red, and green cards effectively. You just effectively you just do all that. Archmage's Charm. Archmage's Charm power crept it. Archmage's Charm. This is a card that was overrated in the beginning, then it saw a lot of play, now it sees no play. Which is really bizarre. It can counter anything. Like, it's a counter spell. You can just draw 2 cards at end of turn, or you gain control of an online permanent with convert mana cost 1 or less. Maybe there's nothing exciting to steal at 1 mana anymore. When like, there was a time where I guess there was a lot of cards at 1 mana you could steal. Maybe now the only thing exciting is like a Ragavan. Maybe a Dragon Rage Chandler, maybe? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But yeah, this currently sees no play. I think this card will make a comeback, though. I think... We got Magic Monger Tom says, Charm sees a lot of play in which decks? How far back are we going? We can go as far back as we want, so long as the card like barely sees play today. Alright, we got Henrik with the super chat. Glimpse the unthinkable. Yeah, this is okay. Maybe has this been power crept out of the mill deck? I haven't looked at the latest mill decks, but this was like a mill. This has been a mill staple for a long time, but it has the problem in that I mean, you gotta make sure you have black for it by turn 2. I think they still play black because they still like to have access to Fatal Push and maybe some hand disruption, but there are just more efficient mill cards now. Tasha's Hideous Laughter comes to mind. Has it been like pushed out by, what's it called, the new Jace? I don't know. I haven't looked at the latest lists, so I'm not sure. But I mean, I'm not surprised. Like, as mill gets better cards, they gotta like shave some of the worst ones. Stetson with the super chat. You know what I don't miss? Cryptic Command or Karn Liberated. Hopefully one of these haven't been named, but both. Okay, Karn. We just did Cryptic Command, but Karn Liberated still sees play. As like, it's still the same rate as it was in Tron. Maybe they shave some, but it's still around at the same rate that they used to. Ecos, Laboratory Maniac. Oh yeah, that's true. Just out of curiosity, do they even in the competitive formats, nobody would play Laboratory Maniac over Thassa's Oracle now. This used to be like the card to win the game. And what was wrong with that? What, like, seriously, what was wrong with Laboratory Maniac being like the win condition for like combo decks and EDH decks? Was there anything did they have to make a better Laboratory Maniac? That seemed completely unnecessary. Like, the Laboratory Maniac decks were doing quite fine with Laboratory Maniac. For a blue 2 generic, it's a 2/2 human wizard. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. So it was like Thassa's Oracle with a few extra steps, but not that much more, because you better believe that your combo deck absolutely drew cards. So who said Jace? Jace the Mind Sculptor. King Ginger. Or Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Ugin sees way more play. Jace the Mind Sculptor. I think this thing still technically sees play very, very little, but I think it's fair to talk about. For a blue 2 generic, it had 3 loyalty. It used to be the planeswalker of all planeswalkers. You could Fate Seal your opponent with the +2. You could Brainstorm for 0. You could return creatures for -1. Oh, that was the rarest ability of them all. And then when the game went too long, you could reasonably end the game by just going -12 and basically exile your opponent's library, and their hand goes into their library, and they'll certainly just concede from there. So yeah, Jace the Mind Sculptor, just pushed out by better planeswalkers. It's as simple as that. Things like Narset are better. Like, this is better value, and it's basically like it's like an enchantment that says your opponents can't draw cards anymore. Teferi, Time Raveler, it's just better. You have Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. Like, and no one's playing, like, and if you play control, you have to be splashing white. Like, these cards are just a little too good to ignore. A little too good to ignore. So, like, if you are going to go in the direction of control, it's really hard to justify Jace unless you're just playing it as a one-of, so you have just a variety of planeswalkers that you can have on the battlefield. Because Jace doesn't do anything particularly special. Nothing special at all. The power creep makes these old staples look like portal cards. Yes! They're all portal cards now. Do people still play Arcbound Ravager? Yes! In Hardened Scales Affinity. Vampire Nighthawk, my boy! Aren't there just, like, better versions of Vampire Nighthawk now? I think that's the problem. I can think of that one vampire that has, like, X. It's like 1 X and a 3, and it can just get bigger for all card types and graveyards or something like that. And basically the same card, effectively. The whole Boggles deck, yeah. Did Cataclysm see a whole lot of play? Cataclysm. Let's go look at Cataclysm. I don't remember this card. Maybe this was a EDH staple. A white 2 generic sorcery. Each player chooses from among the permanents he or she controls an artifact, a creature, and an enchantment, and a land, then sacks the rest. I mean, I do know that this used to be like a staple. I have no idea when it got phased out or why. Abzo says balance. That card just got banned out of existence. No, decks can't play it because it's banned. It got banned. It got banned. It's just a rough place for those cards. It was a staple in the urban block. Oh, interesting. Let's go look at. Okay, hold on. We have more super chats. We got from Geyer. Got Morphling. I wonder, could Morphling see play today? I don't think so, even if damage was still on the stack. This used to be like, it's amazing how cards have changed back then, since then. It used to be an untouchable creature that killed you really quickly. Blue 3 generic for a 3/3 shapeshifter. Pay a blue, untap Morphling, so you can give it pseudo vigilance. Pay a blue, Morphling gains flying until end of turn. Pay a blue, gets shroud until end of turn. Which was that is insane, but still, it's a 5-mana card. Like, what are you gonna have? How much mana do you want to hold up? I mean, you still have to get this thing through counter magic. You can pay a 1 to give it +1, make -1 until end of turn, and then pay a 1 to give it -1, +1 until end of turn. So it was very good on attack. It was very good on defense. And I'm not gonna go with what damage on the stack is, but you could attack for 5, deal 5 damage to a creature with damage on the stack, then make it like a 0/6 so that you didn't die to your opponent's creature. All right, we're gonna look at more of these classic cards that are just stone dead. Look, this is a reserve list card. It's like $12. Man, Morphling. Unfortunately, you didn't age very well, Morphling. They should make Morphling again. Make a 3-mana Morphling with similar abilities. That's how power crept the world is. Like, you would never think you have to spend more mana on cards these days. These days, they just enter the battlefield and they do everything. Like, Omnath is like the Morphling of today, in that it like does everything. All you have to do is put land. You just cast your Omnath, enters the battlefield, and you just put lands in play. Put lands, crack lands, more lands. You get all your abilities for free. Morphling, you have to pay for it. Back in my day, we pay for our abilities. And just like Masticore, you have to pay for your abilities. You have to pay with mana. Okay, we'll look at Masticore next. Another huge mana sink you don't have mana for. Oh god. I want to see the old one. Okay, we'll look at match score, but before we do that, you know, if you know where to get all your old staples again, I don't know, if you want to play with old cards, play the, what is it called, 90, pre-modern. I was looking at some pre-modern coverage the other day. Old standard decks. I guess that's how they try to make it. That's how they try to make the format. They banned Force of Will. They banned all the dual lands from Legacy, and that it's basically just a bunch of really old standard decks battling it out with each other. If you want to play those old decks, play with yeah, some people out there, they love their pre-modern. You can get all them cards at FusionGamingOnline.com. What is the deal of the week this week? Do we have a new deal of the week? Other than booster pack, you still get 50% off all booster packs. You probably have like an hour to do that. But outside of that, you can go get singles at FusionGamingOnline.com. They ship them worldwide, and you can get 5% off when you use coupon code Nikachu at checkout. If you want to dip into pre-modern, I don't know how I've made this a pre-modern discussion. You can play with those classic staples on Magic Online. They do have a community out there waiting for you. I don't know where it is, but they'll find you. Anyway, you can rent those cards using Mana Traders, the premier place for renting Magic cards online. Support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 10% off your first 2 months using coupon code Nikachu_PG2. All right, let's go look at some. And this is a pre-modern, like, I think this is still a house in pre-modern, if I understand correctly. Does it not see like pre-modern play? This definitely doesn't see play anywhere else. And the soul of it is you can't be like spending mana for on all these abilities anymore. It is like you can't be spending 2 mana to deal 1 damage to a creature. What, you nuts? That is absolute crap by today's standards. How about spend 5 mana on a 3/3 double striker that deals 4 damage just like that? Oh, by the way, you can blink the damn thing with cards like Ephemerate. So anyway, yeah, this card doesn't stand, and you have to discard cards to it. I guess maybe the right deck would want to use this. Maybe like a Reanimator type deck. That'd be cool. It does see pre-modern. Does see pre-modern play. That's quite wild. Lobotomy works on land, so you can play a multicolored land destruction deck with it and still have options to exile specific cards from the opponent's list. Oh god. Okay, let's look at Cleek. Sure. I think Cleek got hit by like the same problem a lot of 1 toughness creatures got hit by. 1 toughness is just like is just so brutal. Blue 1 generic for a 3/1 flash flying creature. Enters the battlefield, look at target player's hand. You may choose a non-land card from it. If you do, that player reveals the chosen card, puts it on the bottom of his or her library, then draws a card. 1 toughness creatures are just banned. Effectively. They can't survive Ren and 6, or Fury, or Lava Dart, or Plague Engineer. Plague Engineer, Fairy, or Wizard. Screw your creatures. And just think about that. Like, also, that's splash damage on Snapcaster Mage as well. It can just happen. So yeah, like Vanilla Click used to be a staple to, I mean, for everything. You could cycle bad cards in your hand away. You look at your opponent's hand, just get the information. You interacted with your opponent's combos. Yeah, Vendilion Click was a staple for both Modern and Legacy, and just poof, gone. They should reprint it in Pioneer. There's like all these cards should get reprinted in Pioneer, and they would just all see play. Why does people keep mentioning Fatal Push? This is a ridiculous. It sees play in Pioneer. It sees play in Modern. This is an insane suggestion. Fatal Push is definitely not going on this list. All right, next up we got Bluma. Better Morphling is Aetherling. Yeah, Aetherling. This did see play in Standard, and it's gone. Basically, it cycled out of Standard and didn't see play since. Stetson with the super chat. I'll give you this one. Steel Overseer used to be pretty bonkers. I used to be very fearful of Steel Overseer. So now the difference between this and Ravager is that this card, Steel Overseer, does not see play. in Hardened Scales Affinity. This was specifically like the all-in Affinity deck staple. 2 mana 1/1 artifact, tap, put a 1/1 counter on each artifact creature you control. That include your Memnites, your Ornithopters, your Ravagers, your Inkmon Nexuses, other Steel Overseers on the battlefield. Yeah, it's gone. Basically, the old Affinity list, they don't even want to be playing with this type of style. These days, they go the Thoughtcast direction. Ever since they printed, what is the Thoughtcast Affinity creature? It's escaped my mind. But they go the Thoughtcast direction now. The 8-cast, both in Modern and in Legacy. Thoughtcast and Thought Monitor. That's what it is. Thought Monitor. So with that in mind, you gotta make some concessions. You gotta kick some cards out. And some cards that got kicked out were Steel Overseer. So just drawing a bunch of cards. And hey, like, cranial plating's still around. But yeah, drawing a bunch of cards is just a lot better. Like, the deck evolved. The deck evolved, essentially. And they're like, well, this is pretty crappy. It, like, enters the battlefield, does nothing. Absolutely nothing. You have to wait a turn? You gotta wait a whole turn to use this ability? No, we can't have that anymore. Too weak for Modern. Also dies! Told the one, it's a 1 toughness creature. It'll die to something else. At least Ravager, you can sack and put it on something else. Alright, another super chat. Alright, we've got Noel. Was a staple of every token weenie deck. Castle? The Castle? Let's take a look at this. We got a white 3 generic enchantment. Untapped creatures you control get +2/+2. Not bad. I can't relate. I never played in an era where the token weenie decks were prominent. Our castle's strength will laugh a siege to scorn, said Macbeth. Mog? Let's look at Mog Fanatic. Yeah, this was a really good card at the time. Especially when damage on the stack. This is one of those cards that just got ripped apart by damage on the stack. A red 1/1 goblin. Sack Mog Fanatic. Deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So the deal is, see, I guess it still sees play in those, what's it called? Those pre-modern. I saw it see play in a pre-modern event over the weekend. But the deal is you could attack into 2 toughness creatures. You attack for 1, or how was it? A 2 toughness creature could attack you, and you block it. Or yeah, you could attack in or block. It doesn't matter. You deal the 1 damage, and then with damage on the stack, sack it, deal another damage. But you can't do that anymore, because now when it gets dealt damage, it's just dead. It's back. It's not coming back. Yeah, you can see Mog Fanatic getting thrown in the air. Sarah Angel. It's a bit of an awkward one. Ooh, here's an interesting one. Gurmag Angler. I like that one. Gurmag Angler. Both for Modern and Legacy. And even in like, does this even play in Pioneer? And it could. Like, this was a 5/5 creature for 7 mana, so it couldn't get Fatal Pushed. It couldn't get snuffed out in Legacy. It couldn't get bolted. Even by today's standards, it's not like you can prismatic ending this thing. It's a black 6 generic 5/5 creature. I think the main reason is, like, Murktide is just better. There was a time, actually. I mean, here's the history. It was first Tasigur. Tasigur came out first, or did it came out at the same time? Fate Reforged. Where did Gurmag Angler come in? Oh, the same time, the same card. Okay, at first people were playing Tasigur, and then people just gravitated to Gurmag Angler. I guess that 1 power just mattered so much more. 4/5 just wasn't doing it. And also the average, like, again, a Goyf was, on average, was a 4/5 creature, right? So I guess a Tasigur and a Goyf just bounced off each other pretty often, but a Gurmag Angler didn't. It was just a 5/5. You could play a 4 Gurmags at a time too. Oh yeah, that's true. So, like, another downside to Tasigur is you don't want to have too many of them. on the board, because you can. It's legendary. Whereas with Gurmag Angler, you can have as many Gurmag Anglers as you want on the battlefield. And then all of these have just been displaced by this card. You can have multiples of these on the battlefield. It gets even bigger than the rest of them. It can be like an 8/8 creature. It can get bigger even while it's on the battlefield, because as you exile more instants and sorceries, it flies! Oh, it flies, for crying out loud. So anyway, because of that, wasn't the first one Tombstalker? Yeah, we get okay, even before all that. The evolution of cards replacing each other, Tombstalker. So this predates even Tassiger, the black 6 generic 5/5 flyer with Delve. This was Future Sight. They were did they prophesize Delve here? Was this like the first Delve creature? I don't know. I don't remember. Yeah, that doesn't. So this was like even long ago. This was like I guess this was the OG Murktide. It's essentially like a big flying beater. Murktide is pretty often a 5/5 or 6/6 creature anyway for the same cost. We've come full circle, people. We've come for full circle. Factor Fiction. Some people have tried to make this work today. Oh God. Just gonna look up every single card. I want to see the original. No, can't find the original here. All right, Factor Fiction, blue, and I don't even know why this can't see play today. A blue 3 generic instant, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put 1 pile into your hand, but in the other one goes into the graveyard. I think that's broken. Is that not broken? Now, the reason you would play Factor Fiction is it's just a massive card advantage spell, especially if you can utilize the graveyard at the same time. Factor Fiction is not legal in Modern. It is legal. That not legal in Modern? That is incorrect. It is legal in Modern. They print in Modern Horizons 2. Was it Modern Horizons 2? Where did it come back? Came back somewhere. There it is. Modern Horizons 2. That's how it came back. So it's legal in Modern. I think it's a little bit of play around the Uro era. Because the people are like, well, you know, because if you found an Uro, there's like no good way to make the piles. But now Uro's banned. Oh yeah, okay, so that's the point. Uro's banned. I don't have a really good answer to you. You know what? Now I'm just thinking about it. If you're a control player, like people just want to play Omnath. Omnath. It's just like the card at 4 mana. Maybe if you ban Omnath, you open the door to cards like Cryptic Command again. You open the door to Factor Fiction. Maybe those cards come back. Blue Bomber! Do people still play Nissa Who Shakes the World? People, let's look. I want to say people played in Pioneer. I could be wrong, though. I might... Does the Mono Green deck play this? I think the Mono Green deck plays this. I could be wrong. Beanpaw's like, Omnath should have been banned a year ago. Just like it is in Standard. Modern is now, like, in some ways, like, the most powerful format, in a weird way. It's not fast, but it is insanely powerful. Does Jason Mike still have... We looked at that one. It doesn't really see play. I can't actually speak for Nissa Who Shakes the World. I can't remember. Okay, Jacob. Jacob's, like, really persistent here. Tempest, Djinn. Okay, it saw play in Standard for a while, and then it's just gone. This was a Standard All-Star. It's one of them Standard. Well, Splinter Twin just got banned. Like it would see play today if it was unbanned, and it didn't really see play in Legacy in the first place. West Coast games with Keldoran Outpost. Okay, we got a land. If it would enter the battlefield, sack a plains instead. If you do, put Keldoran Outpost on the battlefield. If you don't, put it into its owner's graveyard. Tap, add a white to your mana pool. Pay a white, 1 generic, tap, put a 1/1 white soldier creature token onto the battlefield. Are you trolling me here? I feel like I'm getting trolled. Oh, it was in a World Championship deck. Holy crap. That makes me wonder, I should rate World Championship cards. Like, this would never see play today. So see absolutely nothing. This is the absolute garbage by today's standards. Like, today we have Castle Ardenvale? Yeah, it's Castle Ardenvale. It's just the same thing. But you don't have to sacrifice your lands to put it in play. I guess the advantage here, you're not even tapping that much more. You're tapping 3 lands here. You're tapping, what, 5 here? But you're playing this in a control deck. Who cares? Was this part of a control? It's better than part of a control deck. Maybe it was part of like a white weenie deck. I'm not sure. Kildrorian Outpost was broken in white weenie and crusade decks. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. I'm looking at this as a control card. In an aggro card, you could sacrifice the planes. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. It would just be the last card you put in play. That's all. One staple I've seen get the chop is Brainstorm. Brainstorm? What? That card is restricted in Vintage. It's a 4X in like every blue deck in Legacy, except Merfolk. Let's look at Geist. Is this legal in Pioneer? It's not legal in Pioneer. They chopped it off. Like, what was the cutoff? Oh, yeah, they didn't print Innistrad in Pioneer. This would see play. I think this would see play in Pioneer. Could be wrong. But for, like, this used to be, like, a good combo card. Like, it was a good card to side in as a combo player. Because, like, they would... Okay, well, I'll talk to the card. Blue, white, 1 generic, 2/2. Spirit Cleric with Hexproof. Hexproof? Whenever it attacked, you put a 4/4 angel creature token with flying. Tapped and attacking. Exiled at the end of combat. So it's a really fast clock. 6 damage a turn. And if you could trick your opponent into siding out all their, I don't know, edict effect, or out all their creatures, or edict effects, or whatever. If you knew your opponent couldn't block it, you sided this card in. And it was I still think this card is pretty strong. I think it's pretty strong by today's standards. Yeah, I think it would see Pioneer play. Some people asking about Collected Company. That one's an interesting one to evaluate. It sees play in Pioneer, but it now sees 0 play in Modern. Nothing. And it used to be a Modern staple. But it still sees quite a bit of player in Pioneer. The Spirits decks play it. The Angel decks play it. Still has a good home there. But 0 play in Modern now. 4 mana, flash speed, put 2 3/3s in play. Nah, not good enough. That's not gonna cut it in Modern anymore. It's too bad. We got Stetson with the super chat. Personal favorite of mine, Cat Jesus. Oh, Leonin Arbiter. What happened to this card? Okay, white 1 generic for a 2/2 cat cleric, and players can't search libraries. Any player can pay 2 for that player to ignore this effect until end of turn. Why are you I mean, it doesn't do anything the turn it comes into play. That's for sure. It's pretty easy to play around in terms of, like, the fetch lands. I don't have a very good answer for this. Except, like, it might be the worst card in a Death and Taxes-like deck. Like, you have to cut things at some point. You know, I've been trying to playtest, like, Legacy Merfolk, and I'm just making, like, all sorts of... you know, you add new good cards to the mix. Like, True Name Nemesis, you gotta cut some good cards. Cards that used to be good. Cat Jesus worked with Path and people stopped playing Path. That's true. But, that doesn't seem to be a good enough reason. I mean, it had that combo with Path. But then again, like, Solitude still works the same way, right? You're still playing, like, removal spells that don't make your opponent search their library. I don't have a good... I think it just got power pushed out of the deck. These days, you want to be working with a lot of ETBs, and ETB did nothing. I want to say maybe there are more decks that don't search their library. Fetchland, we're not so dependent on fetch lands like we used to. There's like a whole slew of utility lands that we reach for that we don't use anymore. No Ghost Quarter either. Yeah, well, if you're not going to play with Leonin Arbiter, you might as well not play with Ghost Quarter. It's things like, you know, that's a good point. Let's bring up Ghost Quarter. Does any deck play Ghost Quarter anymore? Like, does Pioneer play Ghost Quarter? I don't remember. I think that the card is just Field of Ruin. Field of Ruin, ruined Ghost Quarter. And then what is the new one? Field of something. There's another field. Oh no, hold on. Or is it War? Something War? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? What's the new Field of Ruin? There is a new Field of Ruin out there. Demolition Fields. Oh, there we go. Yeah, these cards killed Ghost Quarter. Because Ghost Quarter is like, you sack it, you lose a land, and your opponent still gets like a land out of it, so it's not really great value. Whereas this one, you lose the Demolition Field. You actually might be mana fixing yourself, and you still deal with the problematic land on the battlefield, whether it be a creature land or not. So like, yeah, Ghost Quarter just got pushed out for like these better utility lands. Way better utility lands. What else do we have here? Tectonic Edge? Yeah, Tectonic Edge. That's all a little bit of play in. Yeah, actually, this is another card that got pushed out by Demolition Field and Field of Ruin. Like, this used to be the way you dealt with lands on the battlefield, whether you try to deal with a Tron player, you try to deal with creature lands, sometimes you could try to mana screw someone with Tectonic Edge, but the main purpose was to deal with other people's utility lands. And control players would just rather have extra lands on the battlefield. They're not really trying to get their opponent down on land, so they'd rather be playing with Field of Ruin and Demolition Field these days. These days! Egg with the super chat. Thank you so much. Celestial Colonnade on Creeping Tar Pit. It's true story. Let's look at Celestial Colonnade. That used to be like a $50 staple. Does anyone remember? Like maybe you were thinking about getting into becoming a control player, and then you found out Celestial Colonnade was like $50, and you didn't even want to touch that card anymore. Tapping out for 5 mana, this thing could be a 4/4 flyer with Vigilance. I got no good explanation. M. Petri is like, I forgot Colonnade existed. And now you can get it. You can get this card, the World Wake version, for $1.50. This thing went from $50 to $1.50. Wow, how the mighty have fallen. Yeah, but the foil promo Colonnades look sick. Which ones? Like the Zendikar. This one? World Wake promo. You like this one? I guess you like this one. Looks like it looks. I think these are waves, but it looks like an angel. Believe it or not, Jackalpup was once a 4-of for basically every red aggro deck. Yeah, it was. Well, we'll look at that one. Terminus, believe it or not, still sees play in Legacy. It's actually becoming more popular than Supreme Verdict because instead of putting the creatures in the graveyard, you put them on the bottom of the library, which is actually more relevant. Oh, come on. Okay, let's look at it. There's a few. You guys are mentioning some great ones. Let's look at Jackalpup. Jackalpup, red, 2/1 creature. Let's look at the OG one. It's a cute one. It's a little doggy over here. For each 1 damage dealt to Jackalpup, it deals 1 damage to you. Now that seems like an insanely bad trade-off, but back then, there weren't many 1-mana creatures. And when there were, they were like a 1/1 for 1 for red. So for having a 2/1 for 1 mana, that was broken. Well, I don't know if it was broken, but I mean, they didn't care about their life total. Sure, block it at will. They were gonna burn you down anyway. All right, Lohan, there is a great suggestion here from Tommy. Jace Bellerin for the Jace the Mind Sculptor Mirror. Jace Bellerin. I owned like 3 Jace Bellerins in my sideboard. This was and you saw this play in Legacy pretty often and in Standard at the time. Blue 1 generic. It's a 3 loyalty planeswalker, but you basically brought it in to legend rule away your opponent's Jace the Mind Sculptor, because back then the way the legend rule worked is that when you had a Jace in play, like Planeswalkers didn't count the name of the Planeswalker, or not the name of the card, but the name of the Planeswalker. So if you had 2 Jaces in play, you'd have to sack one of them, even if it was like a Mind Sculptor or Jace Beleren. But on top of that, the way the legend rule used to work a long time ago is if you can only have 1 legendary creature on the battlefield at a time, like between my battlefield and your battlefield. So if you played a Jace the Mind Sculptor, I could play a Jace Beleren and blow them both up. It was just a weird removal spell in that way. Okay, what else do we got here? Yeah, it endangered at the time. Treetop Village, more classics. Yeah. Used to see that all the time. In like any random, like in a Jund deck, in a black-green deck. You could see Treetop Village. It was a very... Well, actually, here's a good question. What happened to these cards? Oh, probably these all got crushed by Demolition Field and Field of Ruin. Because that is just like an easy staple in a lot of decks. Can these come back? I want to say like Field of Ruin is not so popular as it used to be, because trying to mana screw people is just stupid. It just doesn't work. Or maybe it's still, I don't know. I think maybe people are sleeping on the creature lands these days. Manticore. Oh, we looked at Masticore already. I think you meant Masticore. What is Rogue Elephant? What is Rogue Elephant? The hell is this? A green 3/3. When Rogue Elephant comes into play, sacrifice a forest or bury Rogue Elephant. Are you serious? This card looks like absolute trash. But true story, it was part of a World Championship deck. Oh my god. Man, they were working with such rubbish back then. We gotta rate some of those old World Championship decks. That's what we gotta do. We have to evaluate those cards. Some people, I've gotten some criticism, like, you shouldn't be judging those cards to today's standards. No, but that's what makes it entertaining. We're judging these cards by today's standards. It's amazing that something like this could be even playable back then. When it comes to play Sack of Forest, so it's basically like, I don't know, a fair Wild Nacatl. To be fair, like, even by... Okay, by today's standards, 1 mana 3/3, nobody cares. We have millions of 1 mana 3/3s in the form of, like, you know, not only Wild Nacatl, but also Dragon Rage Chandler and Delver of Secrets. But back then, that was supremely broken. There was a time Delver of Secrets was, like, really broken. 1 mana 3/3 is pretty decent, but at the cost of a land on turn 1? Maybe still, I don't know. Just bolted easy, and even back then it was. 90s Magic was actually a lot less weird. In some sense, yes. 101 King! Resplendent Angel. Angels used to be played more. Resplendent. This card still sees play, like, come on. This is still seeing play in the Angels deck in Pioneer. I don't know, maybe the deck has fallen out of favor. But I swear it's still around. Where's Pioneer? I'm gonna find it for you right now. Selesnya Angels. There it is. You see? If you want to play this card, just go play Pioneer. The water's warm. The water's warm in Pioneer. All right, next super chat. We've got Trevor Peebles. Thank you very much for the super chat. Cadaverous Bloom. That won a tournament a long time ago. I think, you know, I looked at that Cadaverous Bloom deck and I thought it was absolute trash. It just looked like garbage to me. It's a black-green, 3 generic enchantment. Choose a card in your hand and remove it from the game. You can add black, or green to your mana pool to just get mana. Like the deck looked like absolute jank. It required a bunch of tutors, and anyway, I don't even know how that thing functioned, even on any level. King Ginger with Dark Confidant. Dark Confidant not looking so confident these days. Okay, we got a black 1 generic 2/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library. Put it in your hand. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. Just another victim of the one toughness annihilation. Basically, one toughness creatures are soft banned in almost all the formats. Can't survive Fury, can't survive Fire and Ice, can't survive Plague Engineer, can't survive anything. Damn it. Just been soft banned out of existence. All the more to drain life. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Oh man, there is like, you know what? I think it would be interesting. We do this again, but we only talk about commons. What do you guys think about that idea? Because I think that a lot of the rares we all know about, but the commons we don't. I think that's going to be another topic for another day. But anyway, that's going to be it for the show. Thank you very much for joining me today. A nice little like trip down memory lane. If you want to be part of the show, be here Monday to Friday, 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Be there or be square. Thank you so much to my supporters, people who are part of the show through the super chats, but also our members on YouTube and patrons on Patreon. And also we gotta thank the people who show up here in the morning. Oh, we'll look at one more. We got like what we got here. King Ginger search for his Kanta. That's right, we got search for his Kanta over here. The blue one generic enchantment. It's a legendary enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You can put it into your graveyard. So it's basically a way of filtering for free. It was like a scry. Maybe scrying is not so powerful as it used to be. And then you flipped it over into Azcanta, the Sunken Ruins. I think you had 5 cards. Egg becoming a member. Thank you so much, Egg. I really appreciate it. I got stuff all over the place here. We can't even see search for Azcanta. You can tap add for a blue, or you can pay 2, 1 generic. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them and put it into your hand. You know what? Put a beating on this. Castle Vantress. It's basically the same thing, but without the effort. You don't put the cards in your hand, but you still dig deep into your deck for the cards that you want. Okay, we gotta thank the people who show up here in the morning. People like... Who am I talking about? All right, I'm talking about like Abzo and Tommy, Jess, King Ginger, Toads, Silvercation, people like Egg, Trevor, Mark Zilla. We got here Duke, Jess, MTG Ectoplasm. Shout out to MTG Ectoplasm. You gotta be excited. Mono Blue Spirits made the top 8 at the NRG series this last weekend. And people like Seven and Poxy. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Okay, Blue Bomber, you missed my last super chat. Oh, I'm so sorry, Blue Bomber. Okay, let's look at... Give you a big super chat sound effect. Garrick? Collar of Beast. I gotta see, did I actually miss that one? I'll look later. But a question, did this C play? This is a green 4 generic, 4 loyalty. Plus when reveal the top 5 cards of your library, put all creature cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. -3, you may put a green creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. -7, you get an emblem. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may search your library for a creature card put on the battlefield and shuffle your library. I can't remember what standard looked like back then. I think this was a standard played card. But I most certainly did not see any play outside of that. But thank you very much for the super chat. All right, that's it for today. People super chatting to the ends of the earth. So as usual, my coffee crew, thank you for being part of the show. Thank you for making the show what it is. Keep bringing up them coffees. We'll keep bringing up the magic. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you